What's up everybody and welcome back to another video. Full disclosure on this video, I suffer from really bad migraines, so I only woke up about an hour ago and I'm currently on Benadryl pain medicine, and I recently just drank a coffee to try to counteract those, so this video should be interesting. Rhianna, get ready to do plenty of edits. But in all seriousness, today I'm going to be talking about Maxwell Street, the nightmare house. And I kind of wanted to do this video because I think everybody likes to show their wins all the time and how everything goes smoothly in the flipping and real estate world, but that's not always the case, and this house is a perfect example of that. So what I'm going to do is kind of tell you the story of this entire flip, how it went, how we went through 4 different contracts before finally selling it, and then I'll also get into the numbers a little bit later in the video. Real quick, before I get any further in this video, please hit the thumbs up button down below. It really helps the algorithm and YouTube, and putting my videos out to more people helps me educate more people, which is my main goal here. Okay, so let's talk about this house and how it even came into our lives in the first place. So my partner Andrew calls me one morning, it's around 10 a.m. and he says, "John, I need you to go to this auction for me." This is nothing out of the usual, but it was a little bit last minute, as usually I know the day beforehand. But anyway, this is something I take a lot of pride in, is that anytime somebody asks me to do something, I usually do it 99.99% of the time. I think it's what makes me a good partner and a good businessman. But as you'll see in this video, this time I messed up. So after getting off the phone with him, I did not write it down. That was my first mistake. I did not write down that he asked me to go to the auction. So then Rhianna and I got busy that day. We went to the mall to find her some shoes and just lost track of time. So we get back to the house, and around 1:30, Andrew texts me and he goes, "How did that auction go?" And for a second I was like, "Auction?" And I went, and Rhianna knew right away. I knew I screwed up. Rhianna knew something was wrong, and I was not having a good time. I was like, holy crap. Andrew asked me to go to this auction. I said I would go to it, and I did not go to it. So right away I was like, how can I fix this problem? What can I do? So I asked Andrew who the trustee was at the auction that was going to auction it off. He gave me that number. I apologized, and I called the trustee right away. And I said, "What did it sell for?" So keep in mind, we just knew that it was going to be an okay deal, but we didn't know how good of a deal it was going to be. So in the back of my mind, I am kind of crossing my fingers a little bit that the price was just through the roof and it was going to be too high for us to buy it anyway. So the trustee tells me, hey, it went for $50,000. Now keep in mind, I still don't know if that's good or bad, but it sounded a little high, especially for a house on the East End where this one was located. So I had a little bit of relief, and I call Andrew back and I say, "Hey, it went for 50 grand. He said, "Okay, let me call you right back." So he calls his friend who's a commercial realtor in the area and has a lot of experience with it. Commercial because this was a house, but it was set up as an office beforehand. It is zoned for both a house or commercial space. So he calls him, and that guy gets back to him and says, "Hey, that thing would sell for $100,000 as is." And Andrew tells me this, and immediately I'm like, no way. So keep in mind, it went for 50, and this guy's telling us it will sell for 100 as is. That's a $50,000 gross spread that I just messed up and missed out on. So by this time, the auction's over. It's like 4 o'clock in the evening. We have all the information, and the trustee's not answering my phone calls. So I was like, oh no, this is terrible. I just let my partners down. That's what I was most upset about. Not only the money that I was going to miss out on personally, but the money that my partners and the company were going to miss out on, and it was all my fault. I felt terrible. Now, my partners were understanding, but I was not. I was like, guys, I will do whatever I can to fix this thing. And I kid you not, I kind of overreacted a little bit. This is my first real big mistake with my current partners, and something that rarely happens to me where I forget to do something. And not only that, but it looked like it was going to cost us about 50 grand. And I was not having it. I was not going well with me. So I literally, that night, I stayed up all night. I never went to sleep. Instead, I stayed up and wrote several drafts of a nice letter to give to the lawyer to please consider still selling that house to us for the asking price. And I would come out of my own pocket for extra money for a premium for the lawyer or whatever he had to do to make sure that we could still get this house. The first thing the next morning, I show up to the lawyer's office. I hand his secretary the letter. I could not get him the letter personally. She wouldn't let me see him. He was in a meeting. So he gets the letter, and I am just a nervous wreck. I let my partners know. They're kind of laughing at me and picking on me. Again, they are not taking this personally at all. They knew it was just a mistake. I have excellent partners, and I'm thankful for that. But on myself, I am being extremely hard. And I'm like, please just call me back. So anyway, around a couple hours later, the lawyer calls me back and says, "Hey, John, I got your letter. I appreciate it, but you kind of messed up here. You weren't at the auction, and it's sold." And I said, "Please, can you please call the bank and see if you can work out anything?" And he said he would, but I took that with a grain of salt because I figured he's a busy man and he's probably not going to do that. So anyway, he does it, and the bank says yes. they'll take it. And I think he asked for like a couple $100 more for his time. I didn't care. We got the house. We got in the house for around $51,000 all in. And not only that, but I said, guys, I'll invest on it so we don't even have to find an investor. I apologize. So Rhianna and I are now the investors on this house, and we do have it. And there's a sigh of relief. I thought, oh, this is great. We're going to throw this thing back up for $100,000, sell it. I saved the day. Everything's good to go. All right, so now I'm going to tell the rest of this video in a couple stages here. We're just going to go contract by contract. So when we first got this house, it didn't need a lot of work. Keep in mind, it was set up as a commercial business though, so there was no kitchen in it, and there was trash everywhere. The offices, they just left everything behind. We heard several stories about it. I won't get into that. So we knew we had to clean it out. So that's the first thing we did is we cleaned it out. We changed the locks, and I actually ended up selling some stuff out of there because it had some nice office furniture. And then we listed it. We listed it kind of as is, right? $100,000, somebody come get it. I think we actually put it up for $99,999. And not long thereafter, I think about a month, we got it in contract. And I was like, it's going just like we planned it. Well, they asked for some repairs and we did the repairs. And here's a lesson for everybody. If the repairs are just requested, but they do not have to happen in order for the house to close, don't do them until after closing. Unless the deal won't go through any other way, try to do the repairs after closing, because what happens is if you do requested repairs, things that they just want done, extra odds and ends here and there, nothing that requires the loan to go through, and they don't go through with the contract, you are going to be out of all that money, and the next person that puts it in contract may not have even wanted those repairs or wanted those add-ons, and so it's just money lost. So that's what we did in this case, and we shouldn't have. We were just excited to get it in contract and thought we were going to sell it. So we did these repairs and they backed out. It's been so long now, I can't even remember why they backed out, but that first contract did back out from some type of inspection repair that they wanted, and we weren't willing to go above and beyond to do that on top of the other ones that we did that were requested. So keep in mind, this is back in August of 2019 when we got this house. So you can see why I'm saying this is the worst house ever, because we didn't close this until last week. Which would have been, I think, 9 months. So let's get into the second contract. So between the first contract and the second contract, quite a bit of time went by. So much so that I was kind of brainstorming. I was like, hey partners, what do you guys think if we put a kitchen in it and kind of fixed the bathroom upstairs and painted the ceilings and did a couple little minor upgrades so that it would appeal to home buyers as well, and not just to people looking for a commercial or office space? And they agreed, and so we put a whole brand new kitchen in it, a really nice kitchen with granite countertops. And we thought that that would help it sell. Well, it did. We got into another contract, but this contract was going to be a little bit different. They kind of wanted a build out. So they wanted all these things done, almost another 40 or 50 grand in upgrades. At this time, I think we're in it for about $65,000, because remember, we bought it for 50, we cleaned it out, we had holding costs, we put a kitchen in it, and we've done some repairs. And they wanted to do about another $40,000 in upgrades, 40 to 50, and they were going to buy it for $150. So we get our almost $50,000 spread again, and we were happy about that. So my partner Steve, bless his heart, did all of the build out requests, cited all the material, did the pricing. This took about a month with them going back and forth, choosing colors and all that. Then we agreed on a price, and then they called us the next day and said, hey, sorry, it's too much for us. We don't have the time to wait for the build out. We're backing out. I was like, oh my gosh, here we go again. I don't remember how many months we're into this project by then, but I want to say it's at least 4 or 5 months. And keep in mind, this was supposed to be just list it, sell it, and forget it. So we thought we'd be in and out of this thing in no more than 60 days altogether. So now we're 4 months in, and the second contract just backed out. So this is around the time Rhianna and I are looking for a house to buy for ourselves, and we're like, look, this thing's sitting there. Steve and Andrew will let us get into this thing. We'll pay them off, give them a little bit of money, and we'll be in this thing for a good price. Maybe around $70,000, $75,000. We'll do our upgrades and build it out exactly the way we want, and then we'll have a decent house, a nice house, and we'll have some equity. So we strongly considered that. We started going over there and going through things that we would upgrade and change. We loved that it was right across from the dog park. We loved that it had a nice big yard, but it was an older house, and we don't really like old houses. We like nice and new. But we thought, hey, this could be temporary, and again, we'd have the equity and we could get out of it or rent it anytime we wanted. So Rhianna and I literally put our list together, and the next day it went into contract. Like literally when we handed Steve our request for repairs so he could get some pricing together for us to do the build out, it went into contract. So we're like, all right. And that's when we found this apartment. We came upstairs in our building. So us buying it was out. We were in contract. We were like, fine, just let it go. It'll sell. Well, they got their inspection and their parents scared them out of it. That's pretty much what it was. Their parents said, hey, the repairs are too long, get out of it. When you don't do a rehab or a new build out, you're going to have a long list of inspection repairs because you didn't do those repairs when you listed the house. And this is going to scare new buyers. And that's something that we deal with. We call these homes equity homes, and we even have a different DBA for them so it doesn't mess with our A&M brand. But it's called A&M Equities and not A&M Investment Houses. And we separate those two on Facebook and everything so people know these are not full rehabs. So anyway, their parents scared them out of the contract, and I was like, that's it. We're going to be holding this house forever. Like, I felt like it was my first investment all over again. I was like, oh, I messed up. Now, keep in mind, this is like Rhianna and I's 20th something investment. I want to say like 22 or 23rd house we invested on. So I wasn't going too crazy, but I was definitely frustrated. Rhianna and I both, the company was frustrated. We just wanted out of this thing, and we were just so over it. So we listed it back up again, and we listed it for $99, and we're like, whatever, however long it takes to sell, just sell the thing. I didn't even want to think about it anymore. I stopped driving by it. I didn't care anymore. By this time, I'm into the house for around $70,000 or so, and I was like, screw it. When it sells, it sells. And then about a month later, it went back into contract, and finally, these people stuck all the way through, but it doesn't stop there. So we get an appraisal on the house. We sold it for $100, and actually we raised it to $101 because they had some requested repairs. We said we'd do those for $101,000. So we were like, okay, we'll make okay money on this thing and we'll get out of it. The appraisal comes back at $99,000. I hate appraisers. If you're watching this and you're an appraiser, I don't mean you specifically. But as a builder, as a rehabber, as somebody who does real estate investing, appraisers sometimes are not your friend. And this thing was $1,000 below what we had sold it for, or $2,000 below what we had sold it for. And we were like, really? You couldn't get there? You couldn't get another $1,000 or $2,000 more? So we had to agree to sell it for that, and we lost right away $1,000 or $2,000, whatever it was. We lost that immediately because, again, the appraiser didn't meet that. But anyway, we're in contract. They really love the house. We're getting our repairs done, and then we finally get a closing date. It's like 10 months later, we finally get a closing date on this house, and Rhianna and I are going to be out of town. Now, I haven't been to all closings, but I've been to about 98% of the ones Rhianna and I have invested on. And I was like, what are the chances that this one is going to be on the date that we're not here? Of course it is, because I really wanted to be there. I wanted to put it in this video. Anyway, we were going to be out of town. We were going back to visit some family where we're from in Charlottesville, Virginia, and we weren't going to be here, so Andrew closed it out for me. So then we're driving, right? And so I messaged Andrew, and it was kind of like payback, I guess. I messaged Andrew and said, Andrew, what happened? I thought the closing was at 1 o'clock. It's 1:30. He said, man, some things are going wrong. I'll keep you updated. And I looked at Rhianna and I was like, are you kidding me? So he tells me that the couple gets scared at the closing table and they just don't want to go through with it anymore. Something happened in the neighborhood or whatever, and he was trying to save it, but it wasn't looking good. And I thought he was joking at first because Andrew's not someone to really say this stuff or mess around, and definitely not one to keep it going. And he had an entire story for it, and I was like, no way. So I actually got frustrated, and I was texting all of us, our team, and saying, look, put the thing back up. If it doesn't sell for what we're asking for, screw it. The baby will inherit the house. That's basically what I said. And I was half kidding. I was like, Rhianna and I's baby will inherit the deed of trust out of our name before I ever sell it for anything less than what we're asking because of our time invested. And then Andrew sends a message out like 5 minutes after that with a bunch of laughing faces and saying, Maxwell is now closed. I didn't even care that he was messing with me. I was just so thankful it was closed. Rhianna and I gave each other a high five. We were like, finally, we're out of that house, and we can finally close the book on this one and be away from it. And that was all I was asking on this house. In fact, I didn't even care if we made any money or not. We did make some money, and I'm gonna go over those numbers right now. So like I said, we sold it for around $100,000. By this time, Rhianna and I were investing in it for around $73,000. And the gross profit was around $16,000 or $17,000 on the entire deal back to the company. Of that, Rhianna and I got a third, which was almost $6,000. So if you take the $6,000 on the $73,000 over 10 months, it was about a 10% annualized ROI, which is not awesome, but it's also not terrible, especially being that this was what I would call a loser. It took way too long. So anytime you can lose and still make 10% annualized, I call that a winning scenario. We're just used to like 50% ROIs, 80% ROIs. We even recently had one that was like 186% annualized ROI. And now that's only if we keep the money moving, of course. These are the numbers that we're used to seeing on our investments, and so we were a little bit let down, but we don't care now. The house is sold. That's 73 plus 6, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry, the medicine's getting me. So that's $79,000 that we can take back into our accounts and redeploy and go make higher ROIs with that, and it's no longer sitting. So anyway, that's the story of Maxwell, which I call the worst house in the world. And it's over and done with. I've learned a lot from this investment. My team and company and partners have learned a lot from this investment, and I hope you guys did too through this story. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button down below and subscribe to my channel, and I'll be putting more videos like this out in the future. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next video.